There are three well-known Masonic obelisks in Manhattan. They form a straight line bearing 26 degrees from north. This line intersects a number of prominent buildings in Manhattan, all sharing a Masonic theme. Many were architected by the same two prominent Freemason architects. These obelisks are the key to a larger Masonic map indisputably hidden in plain sight on the North American landscape, beginning in 1713, with Washington, D.C. at its center, and three places called Cedar Point at its corners. Several of the theories pertaining to these obelisks can be easily refuted. Their true purpose is revealed from their alignment with one another, from their alignment with the sun, and from their alignment with two other famous Masonic structures. All of the maps and details in this video are derived from The Seal of Liberty, America's Quest for the Lost Treasure of Freemasonry, a book by Adam Schneider, your narrator. This short book reveals to the reader in a systematic and rational way the existence of a Masonic map devised for the land of the free before 1713, and then reveals the original purpose and methods of Freemasonry using Freemasonry's own words as translated by the symbols on the map. The Emmett Obelisk is adjacent to St. Paul's Chapel in the Financial District. It was erected around 1831 and is named after Thomas Addis Emmett, an Irish-American Freemason. It is shown on the cover of the Seal of Liberty with the light effect of Freedom Tower beaconing above it. When the sun rises on the winter solstice, a line from the sun on the horizon through the Emmett Obelisk hits the center of Freedom Tower. The longitude of the Emmett Obelisk is 74 degrees west and 33 arcseconds. This longitude is exactly 3 degrees east of the U.S. Capitol building, which also has a longitude with 33 arcseconds. Emmett's face on the front of the obelisk looks down Broadway Street, which bears 33 degrees in this part of Manhattan. These occurrences of the number 33 pertain to the 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. The next obelisk is the Woolworth Monument, 1857, about 1,000 feet due west of the New York Life Building, which rises above it on 26th Street and was architected by the Freemason Cass Gilbert. More on that later. General Jenkins Worth was a Freemason and war hero. The third obelisk is called Cleopatra's Needle. It is a 3,500-year-old Egyptian obelisk transported from Egypt and erected in a Masonic ceremony in Central Park in 1881. Let's now determine if these three obelisks are aligned with one another. The bearing from the Emmett Obelisk to the Woolworth Monument is 25.94 degrees relative to north. The bearing from the Woolworth Monument to Cleopatra's Needle is 25.92 degrees. And the bearing from the Emmett Obelisk to Cleopatra's Needle is 25.93 degrees. None of these bearings differ by more than 2/100ths of a degree. In other words, these three obelisks are as perfectly aligned as 19th century technology could make them. Rounding up less than 1/10 of a degree, we see that the obelisks form a line that bears 26 degrees relative to north. This image is taken from the software program Stellarium. Some researchers have speculated that the three Manhattan obelisks are arranged like the three stars in Orion's belt. As the viewer can see, these three stars are slightly misaligned, whereas the obelisks are perfectly aligned. The researchers that make this claim about an alignment with Orion's belt support a theory that the obelisks convey a Masonic pagan belief system that includes goddess worship. Freemasonry is not a belief system, it is a philosophy. It calls itself a science for a reason. Freemasonry's ties to the sacred feminine are symbolic in nature and convey a message about the connection between each individual and the fall of man, and each person's obligation to figuratively resurrect themselves from their current earthly and defiled state, and to figuratively ascend to their lost state of purity. But that's an aside here, covered in more detail in the Seal of Liberty. For now, let's disprove the claim that the obelisks are aligned like the stars in Orion's belt. This image of the pyramids at Giza is taken from Google Earth. As one can see, they come rather close in their alignment to the stars on Orion's belt. This isn't related to the New York obelisk, but it shows what an alignment might look like. Let's place the stars in Orion's belt over the Manhattan obelisks. If the stars are scaled and rotated to match the northern and southernmost obelisks, then we see that the middle obelisk is misaligned by several city blocks. If we flip the image of the stars, we see a similar mismatch. So the obelisks are not arranged like the stars in Orion's belt, period. Such a claim is demonstrably false. Rather, the obelisks form a straight line that bears 26 degrees relative to north. I now want to quickly show you a few interesting things about Masonic Manhattan as its structures relate to the 26-degree line formed by the three obelisks. First, this line intersects a few places of interest. The Empire State Building on 33rd Street. The New York Public Library main branch, architected by the Freemason Thomas Hastings. And Washington Square. If the 26-degree line is extended south from the Emmett Obelisk, then it bisects a building also architected by Thomas Hastings that has a pyramid and a beacon atop it. The pyramid is modeled after the mausoleum at Halicarnassus, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. This same pyramid sits atop the House of the Temple, which is the Scottish Rite headquarters building north of the White House, and atop the George Washington Masonic Memorial in Alexandria, Virginia, which is the center of the Masonic map that I've mentioned a few times. And it also sits atop other buildings by these Masonic architects. This building's address is 26 Broadway. 4 obelisks adorn the building. If the 26-degree line is extended a few hundred feet further, it intersects the center of the U.S. Custom House, now a Smithsonian Museum, which was architected by Cass Gilbert, the architect of the New York Life Building. Cass Gilbert architected another building on our 26-degree line. It is the Woolworth Building, and it is 2 blocks north of the Emmett Obelisk. Its address is 233 Broadway. This number can be interpreted 2 ways. 2 times 33 equals 66, a number that occurs a few dozen times in the Seal of Liberty. See the appendix called Route 66. Or it can be seen to represent a 2, and 3 plus 3 equals 6, or 26, or 26. The building occupies an entire city block, so its address could have been chosen to be any number from 200 to 299. 2 Freemason architects and 1 recurring Masonic theme. These patterns are not a coincidence. So why 26 degrees? The answer stems from the Kabbalah Tree of Life in a process called gematria. As I explain in another video and in the Seal of Liberty, Freemasonry derives its philosophic structure from the Kabbalah. Theirs is a version of the Kabbalah that became popular among European occultists, anti-Catholic Church repressionists, during the early European Renaissance leading up to the time of the Protestant Reformation. The numbers shown are taken from the Kabbalah. Each point is called a sephiroth. I've highlighted the center column of the Tree of Life, the column representing balance and harmony. Its numbers 1, 6, 9, and 10 sum to 26. In the Kabbalah, the number 26 is a synonym for Jehovah. In Hebrew, the language used by the Jews, the creators of the Kabbalah, numbers are represented by letters in their 22-character alphabet. In other words, Hebrew does not have separate characters for digits. The number 6, for example, is represented by the Hebrew letter Vav. This means that every word in Hebrew is also a number, if the letters are interpreted as numbers. So the word Jehovah is also a number. I said earlier that the center column of the Tree of Life is the key to deciphering a Freemason map hidden in plain sight on the North American landscape. Here's the first taste of that map. On Oak Island, several large stones are seen to form a cross called Nolan's Cross. They can also be seen to form a carefully designed Tree of Life shape. The center column of Nolan's Cross in the Oak Island Tree of Life points directly at the Newport Tower in Washington, D.C. If you attempt to verify this fact using Google Earth, you will fail. You cannot use modern mapping techniques reliant on the satellite and computer age to uncover a map designed several hundred years ago. This is why I used Mathematica for my research, because it allowed me to use the mapping tools of the age that I was investigating. See Chapter 2 of the Seal of Liberty called The Path to learn more about this mapping issue. I devote an appendix in the Seal of Liberty to teaching the reader how to use Mathematica to verify my calculations and reproduce my graphics. The line shown above is the starting point of the map and the symbolic narrative that Freemasons designed it to convey. As I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, the Manhattan obelisks are part of a larger Masonic map. I will not go into the larger picture in this video, but I will introduce the unlikely alignment that connects the obelisks with other Masonic structures in the United States. The George Washington Masonic Memorial near Washington, D.C., the Statue of Liberty, and the Emmett Obelisk in Manhattan are all in a straight line, as shown in this image. Each of these 3 sites are designed to conform to the Tree of Life shape as seen on Oak Island. This is not a coincidence, but part of an elaborate plan designed to convey a single symbolic narrative pertaining to Freemasonry's deeper meaning of liberty. Why would Scottish Rite Freemasons long ago devise this plan? Why have Scottish Rite Freemasons continued to add to this map as recently as 1943? Why is Freemasonry always associated with treasure quests such as the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant, and Templar gold? Why do some accuse Freemasons of pagan or even Satan worship? Why was Freemasonry created in the first place? Freemasonry calls itself a science for a reason. Find these answers as you dig for your own treasure in the Seal of Liberty, America's quest for the lost treasure of Freemasonry.